You're listening to the No Limits Radio Show on the Vets on Media Network.
All right, welcome back.
We're back.
We're back, and we're talking about a topic that if anyone had told me a year ago that I would be talking football, I would have laughed my ass off. Truly.
Yes. Now, I happen to love football.
Yes, you do.
And you have no clue about football, or at least you didn't. Actually, I went to an Ohio State game this fall. And I think, was it October? End of October. And she was asking me how the game was, and I said it was cold, because I live here now. So, Ohio in October, it's cold. And she said, was it outside? And I'm like, oh, dear Lord. Yeah, it's outside.
Well, we have someone in studio who definitely knows a thing or two about football. John Bronson, former NFL tight end fullback for the Arizona Cardinals. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. All right, so football. You started off in high school playing football, went to Penn State, then the Arizona Cardinals. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was awesome. Just going through the ranks from youth all the way. I started football when I was 6 years old. Yeah, started in the what they call them, the 89ers, and just loved football and was pretty good at it. And then through the ranks of high school and I ended up being from Seattle, so ended up getting a scholarship to go to Penn State from Seattle.
Wow.
And, from there, kept working the journey to Arizona to be a part of the Cardinals for a little bit. So it was definitely a lot of fun.
So growing up, you always knew that football was the thing that you wanted to do.
Football was the thing I wanted to do. Ever since I was 6 or probably even younger, I had a dream of being a pro athlete. And so that was one of the things that, I was able to accomplish super early. And, it was definitely, one of the things that I set my mind on. Obviously not at 6 years old, but, as I got older, I set my mind on and I did all as much everything possible to obtain the goal of playing football.
So from Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally jumping around. I'm jumping forward to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
Obviously, tomorrow we've got the Broncos and the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you cheering for?
You know what? Obviously, most people assume that being from Seattle, I would pick Seattle. But I am really torn right now. I don't know. Both of them are great teams. Obviously, Seattle has a great, team, great defense in particular. Denver, Peyton Manning, great offense, so you can't go wrong there. Man, it's a fourth-quarter decision for me. I have not decided yet, but if you'd ask me right now, I would probably put a slight edge on Denver, just because Peyton Manning has 2 weeks to prepare.
How about if we do this? I'm going to ask you to stay through to the end, because in the next segment we're going to have JD on from JD's Rockin' Sports, and we're going to talk more about the Super Bowl.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, good. So one of the things that I find fascinating from an outsider looking into football and everything, the components of professional football,
mm-hmm.
the hazing.
Mm-hmm.
I recently we heard a lot about hazing, and the thing that I wonder is, are we looking at hazing and the things that go on in the NFL from a business standpoint? Like, am I looking at it from, this would never, you couldn't do this in a business environment, and are we looking at it from the wrong perspective, and is this just a thing that happens in the NFL and we need to mind our own business, so to speak, or not? And what are your thoughts? What was your experience with that?
Sure. For starters, I think football it's a business, but it's also kind of it's a brotherhood, it's a fraternity as well. So you have your business and the fraternal type atmosphere all in the same, one in the same. And the biggest thing I think is that it's part of the game, But per individual, I also believe that it's as how you as an individual decide to embrace it. I can tell you, for me, there wasn't very much hazing because I, put my foot in the ground and that was just it is what it was. And so I made it known that, look, I'm not really the person to mess with, so don't do it. Whereas somebody else maybe would be a little bit more lax about the situation, and then there'd be also more a person who would be more vulnerable to hazing.
And does it happen more at different levels? You have played, before high school,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm imagining doesn't really happen. Then you have high school, and then you played in college, and then professionally.
Sure.
So even if it didn't happen necessarily with you, between high school, college, and professional,
Sure.
is it more common, or did you notice it was more common at the college level versus professional?
No, I think it's yes and no. I think in college it's more common in a certain time frame, preseason-ish or whatever. But it's more so fun and games joke that every freshman goes through,
Okay.
innocent type of scenarios. Pro, I think it can be a little more in depth. I mean, you hear some of the stories that I don't need to really go into, but also, like I said, it's at that point you are a pro, so you can make your own decisions. Obviously, keep in mind the statements that I said were mostly in the college and pro, because little kids in high school and middle school, those decisions are a little bit harder to make as a kid.
Right.
But in college, it's more fun. Type of scenarios that may happen one day out of the of the year,
Right.
and pro, it's per individual and how you decide to embrace it. Nobody's pulling your chain to
Right. Well, and I think
do
in
we need
high
to stay out of
school,
it? I mean, that was kind of the question. Is so should should the people who aren't on the team or not in the NFL, is it really
because it's
not a
almost,
big deal? Do we need to stay out of it?
it's almost like the curtain was pulled back and we got to see something that
yeah.
maybe we had no
Business seeing.
Exactly.
Right. Like I said, I think it's on a case by case scenario.
Right.
I would go on everybody saying that whole Miami ordeal. And if I was Martin, that wouldn't be me. You know what I mean?
Right,
Because I would draw the line in the sand. Like,
Right.
quite frankly, that's basically what would it be for me. Maybe I don't know Martin or very well, and I know
Right.
the other guy, but and so maybe he's a little bit different, and
Right.
and his feelings and personality or whatever.
Sure.
I just don't know. So I think it's per individual and per person. But they are pros, and they're they're the best of their sport.
Right.
And they're it's not like we're dealing with little kids here, so they're big
Exactly.
adults, that can make
Exactly.
their own decisions. So,
And I was just going to say, it's not like we're dealing with little kids, but something that that moms are dealing with. When you look at your kids are watching the athletes play, and they emulate that. They want to be like them. The first, when my son was talking about football, big concern for me, concussions.
absolutely.
I mean, that's a huge concern. Last year alone, there were 152 players that suffered a concussion. We know that there's a NFL concussion litigation where there's a $765 million settlement that's being discussed. So obviously concussions are a big deal. When you look at American football versus rugby, it's very interesting because the rugby athletes are taught early on not to go head first. They don't wear any padding or helmets. So is there something that the American football could take a play from rugby and learn a little bit there? What are your thoughts on concussions?
Sure.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that basically what you've already said, I have a couple of friends who are doctors, and I've ran this past them, and they said it's very simple. If you take away the helmets, there'd be less concussions. Very rugby style type of ordeal. People wouldn't be, using their head as a helmet as a weapon versus tackling with arms and and other body parts. And so I thought that was very interesting. But yes, I mean obviously concussions are real. They and it's a trickling effect. So it's not just that now things are happening to make changes for the game of football, but the trickling, lingering effect, as you said, is parents with kids now in football who are saying, hey, I don't know if I want my son playing football, but the NFL, everybody has just continued to do a better job of making the game safer, and keep educating and having more awareness about concussions and about how to be able to prevent them. And that's the only way that the sport's going to be able to stick around. It's just more awareness, more transparency, and more understanding about how to be able to deal with concussions.
For you, was that ever a concern? Like when you first started playing, was that ever a concern?
How do I answer this? It was, concussions was about as frequent as, you drinking,
My iced coffee.
Your iced coffee. And it was just like in a routine. So like, where the concussion, you black out, whatever, get out, come back, go next play. Like it wasn't really anything like it's like now, like it's concussion, like you're done, like
Right.
And so that's how it was. Even when I was, at the Cardinals, like it was one of those things where it was just something that you go through.
Right.
Part of football, no big deal. But as we start to understand more about it, even as a player, you go, man, that was really serious. But to answer your question, didn't really look at it as a big deal, only because it just wasn't educated enough about it, I guess you can say.
Knowing everything you know now, would you have done anything different?
I would say I would not have done anything different for me. Now, if I, what I recommend, what if I don't have any kids, or I have a niece and well, my niece wouldn't, but I have a nephew.
Wait a second. What do you mean your niece wouldn't? Because girls can't play football?
Well, they can, but
they play in Pop
highly
Warner.
doubt that she
I have
would
two
be
boys
playing.
that play Pop Warner, and there's girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
But you get what I
But
mean.
will there? Yeah. There's. I don't
We're
think
talking
we're going
at
to
the
see.
professional
yeah,
level.
Exactly.
Professional level,
Exactly.
yeah.
I don't think we're going to see some
Yeah.
girls playing on Sunday.
You got it. It would be very difficult. I would say, it's a decision that parents would have to sit down with their kids at the right time to do.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, like a lot of other doctors and other people, that you could minimize the contact. I think you can be in flag or some other leagues a lot longer and not have to start football when you're 6 years old like I did. So there's other things to do to be able to make the game safer and have more longevity and, for the game of football. So it'd be a very tough decision.
What I find really fascinating is that you had this you had a football career, and then you decided you have so many different businesses.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, did football in any way set you up for success in the business world? Were there things that you learned while playing football that you feel helped to transition into the business world?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, being in sports, and let's not keep in mind, I mean, I went to, first of all, in college, we didn't have a choice but to get our degree. It was like, no academics, no football. So like, you had to get so that was kind of where it all started. And I think I really understood at that point too that I wanted to go into business, for myself, football or no football. But I was fortunate to play football. But even with football, the things you learn a lot about teamwork, how to be disciplined, just drive and tenacity, like all those common factors that you learn in football that every day, it's not that you just go out and play on Sundays, like, or even in college. I mean, you're from nutrition to getting up at 5, 6 a.m. to working out to practice to massage therapy to chiropractic therapy I mean, it's a full-time schedule to play football. And so being able to go into an environment where you understand how to be disciplined from your body, because you're basically your own, and you work for yourself. You're on a team, but you basically work for yourself as a football player. And those are some of the things that kind of just helped me to take that next step into business. Maybe a little bit easier, I guess you can say.
And probably also you can owe a lot of your success in the business world to that. So what I find interesting, we were talking about, you said if you have a nephew or a niece, whether you would encourage them with football, with concussions and everything going on. However, it seems like football for you has really affected your, after football life as far as your businesses. So, like you said, sports is a big thing. So, even though you have the chance of concussions and things like that, would you encourage your child to play sports because of everything you learn about it, about life, playing a sport?
I mean, if my nephew was born to play football, which some people are, and some people can be very good at multiple sports.
Mm-hmm.
Then hey, that's your destiny. If you're just
Right.
football, but it was between baseball or golf and football.
You're gonna tell him to go for
I
golf?
was like, hey, pick up the golf club. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things.
I don't know. Golf could be dangerous.
Golf could be dangerous. Say with baseball. I mean, there's definitely risk reward in any sport.
Right.
But there's obviously minimized risks and things like that. So it just depends. But I think that just going through it as a player, both current and obviously former now, I wouldn't want to see anybody else go through it.
Right.
But if you're born to do it, you're born to do it.
Well, what's interesting is that you have created businesses that take, had you not been in football, had you not been in the NFL, I wonder if the businesses that you've now created would have even been a thought.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about that,
Sure.
because I find the amount of businesses and the ideas that you've had and what you've done really fascinating.
I
mean, so Pro2u,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, from an outsider looking in, what I saw was, okay, if I want to do a birthday party or an event,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to have a fairy princess, but I want to have an actual, I don't want to have somebody that's dressing up like a Dallas Cowboys or whatever, insert whatever team. I can have that actual player.
Absolutely.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea, and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. I started it as a hobby, just when I was playing. Friends of friends, knew me and said, "Hey, John, do you mind, coming to, my son's 12th birthday party?" Sure, no problem. Threw a jersey on, showed the party. There's 30, 35 kids at the party. They're all trying to figure out how this Cardinals players came to their party.
Sure.
So, from there, inquiries started to come, and, hobby eventually started to turn into some type of business model. That wasn't, it didn't have a website or anything at that point. And then from there, I just said, hey, I know a lot of different athletes, and they know 10 others, and they know 10, so the arm's length can get really, really deep here. We can give the customer base something different, than the clown or the princess and, or the magician.
Right.
And on top of that, we can serve it in a market where we can serve a lot of people for an affordable price. So those are the key denominators in being able to put this business together. So it's been fun and as you said, different and something that I believe that they'll really be big down the line.
So how does it work?
Sure. Basically, it's very simple. I think I said yesterday, it's about as easy you ordering a T-shirt online like these days. You just
Really?
go to the website and point and click. Search the profiles of the athletes that you like, team that you like, and obviously who's neighboring. Because how we do it, we use athletes that are in the state. So, for instance, if we have Cowboys players in Arizona, so those are the people that we would use here.
Oh no.
And is this just not to interrupt, but is this just professional football players or all types of sports? Hockey, baseball?
Oh, absolutely, all sports. Baseball,
all sports.
hockey. We're working hockey. We're living in hockey right now, but baseball, basketball, golf. You name it. I mean, we're eventually looking to branch out
to everything.
Everything.
So I look at the profile.
Look at the profile. Decide who you want. How and whatever. Everybody connects in different ways, so we give enough information. Also, what they would come to the party for. The type of event they would come for.
Okay.
Some athletes come for different things or do different things. And there you just check out just like normal. We get an inquiry, and within 48 hours we'll have a response from the athlete if they can do it or not. And day of, show up with the event or experience and go from there.
Pretty neat. So some players, might say, okay, I'll do a charity event, but I won't do a 4-year-old's birthday party.
Absolutely.
Is that what you mean? Like they can say
Yes.
that the certain athletes will do certain things and others
Absolutely.
will not.
From our side of the tape, we give them an application and a list of things that they can check off. So it could be birthday parties, it could be grand opening events, it could be bar mitzvahs, it can be,
Bachelorette parties?
Bachelorette parties, you know. I mean, let's go.
You understand that I will soon be on your website clicking for somebody for her bachelorette party. I already see it.
You know, I mean, and the list goes on. And then so at that point, you know, the stuff that they immediately don't want to do, then they just don't check it. And,
Okay.
you know, the stuff that they want to do, we have it listed there so we know to contact them for.
It would seem like it would be very expensive. Give us like a range.
Sure, you know, and it's not very expensive actually. What the biggest thing I wanted to do is to make it in brackets where it's affordable. So one thing that we do is we allow the athlete to be able to price themselves. So
Okay.
and reason why is because, quite frankly, I don't know their price range in every area because we're not just in Arizona, so we service basically on a nationwide basis. So I can't tell their market price in their area all the time. But no, we're very fortunate. You know, our lowest pricing bracket is you know, basically $199, $200, and you know, we have cheerleaders. You know, we have we have arena, and we have baseball, and then it obviously can go up to a couple $1,000, or it can go up to 50,000, you know, 50 grand, depends on, you know, who you want. So
and if you've got a charity event, to be able to bring in an athlete. That could be really huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we work with a lot of different charities, and another thing that we do with charities and foundations is they automatically get 50% off of whatever the going rate is athlete. So if they wanted a higher price category,
do you pitch in the other half, or the athlete is willing to drop that? Because that's a big difference.
Well, you know, it's already when they sign up, we have all these. All these.
So they have to, if it's a nonprofit, they know. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of part of our promotions, as you can say. So it's, yeah.
So the website is Pro2u, and that's T-O, Pro2u.
Yes.
Tell us some of the, yes, YOU, yes. Tell us some of the different athletes that are on there.
Yeah, well, since we're in Arizona, I guess I'll kind of start here. We have basketball. We got like Oliver Miller. He was a Suns here. We got Stephen Hunter. We got people are familiar with maybe Ryan Lindley here. Who's a quarterback. We got Damian Anderson. We got Levi Brown, who was a Cardinals here. Geez, I'm trying to think who else we got on here. We have to throw them in a spot here. We got a lot of athletes. Over 500 athletes. So
over 500 athletes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, the cool thing is that they can go to the website
and
you can see past events. You can see testimonials. You can actually do. It's
Marcel Shep, Lincoln Kennedy. I'm sorry, I'm just going. Yeah.
Thinking of them.
There is there's a ton we have here. So.
Yeah, it's a great looking website.
Oh,
so
thank you.
To have started from not having a website and started as a hobby and then creating a business, which obviously it incorporates, you know, your passion for creating business and creating your, you know, including your passion for football.
It's been a lot of fun. You know, the biggest thing we wanted to do is get more athletes in the communities, and you know, a lot of these athletes have a brand, either current or former, that they can help somebody else, and whether it's foundation promotions, whether it's small business promotions, whether it's just inspiration for, you know, Sarah's, you know, 11th birthday party, and she likes, you know, women's basketball, or you know, she wants to be a cheerleader.
Right.
You know, there's all kind of different scenarios that we want to just help bring more of these athletes. And then from the athlete side, you know, like I said, quite frankly, it's just, you know, help them. It's being an athlete itself. It'll be really difficult to, you know, to promote yourself, you know, like, so having a third party be able to promote you promote themselves for them is something that makes it a lot easier, and you know, they want to be out in the community.
Is this, I know that you have several businesses. Is this where all of your focus is?
This is where
kind of your baby?
It's where all my focus. I mean, we spent the past, you know, even a few months just previously condensing, moved over a service that I had from another business called Sporman, and we moved over called our private coaching. And so it's another segment where kids can get private coaching from these athletes, like, you know, on if it's football, like techniques or skill work or anything like that, and also live coaching, or if it's baseball and, you know, hitting and things like that. So we moved that service over to Pro2u and just condensed it to make it a lot easier.
Very nice.
And then the live video conversation is another big hit, because that can be done with any athlete anywhere, and basically, you know, 5-minute conversation with your favorite athlete, and you can talk about whatever you like to talk about, you know, Just like we're doing on the radio show.
That's really cool.
That is cool.
My fiance is a huge football fan, and he's standing behind, just kind of grinning from ear to ear. I can already see where we're going. All right, so we've been talking to John Bronson, and we've been learning a lot about football, your business. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. We are going to a break now, and when we come back, we're going to have JD from JD's Rockin' Sports, and we're talking Super Bowl. So don't go away, and hopefully you can stay with us through this next segment.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yep.
Everyone is going to need an attorney at